People started posting on our social media, hey, check out this, flat earth this, flat earth that. And I refused to even click on one of those links. I would delete them, and I even banned people from posting that would put repetitive garbage like the earth is flat. Finally, a researcher that I trust said, hey, Dave, just watch this video. And I watched the video. Then I watched another one. Then I watched another one. And after watching a whole bunch, I said, okay, I'm going to go in and debunk this. And that's the greatest thing a ball believer can do, is go in and try to debunk the flat earth. Because if they do it with a rational mind and using the scientific method, they will come out on the other side knowing that we do not live on a spinning ball flying through space at ridiculous speeds in 4 different directions at once, where the stars reset every year to the exact same position. What's really embarrassing is I realized the world was flat and I still believed in NASA. And the only reason for that is because I never looked into NASA. And then someone said to me, you believe NASA's real? And then I realized that I'd never questioned NASA. Somebody said, you believe we went to the moon? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, have you ever looked into it? I'm like, no. And then I looked into it. It took 10 minutes. 10 minutes. 10 minutes is all it takes is to see that NASA is horrible at what they do. They're horrible at faking it. They must be doing it on purpose, because I could do better and I'm not a graphics person. The funny thing is, the people that believe in NASA, the only reason they believe in NASA is because they haven't actually looked at anything NASA does. NASA is a CGI agency, period. That's it. With all that motion, parallax, stars are supposedly scattered all over the place, and a year later, the stars are in the exact same position they were a year before. That's impossible. That proves that the stars are fixed and rotating above us, and we are not moving. There's no other explanation. Wrap your head around it, and that's the way it is.
There is no curvature. You know how I know? I tried to debunk the flat earth and I failed. That's how most of us get started. We try to debunk the flat earth and we fail.
Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born into a prison for your mind.
Buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye.
You'll want to remember this moment as the last time you thought the flat earth was stupid.
Hello everyone, this is ODD, and yes, I'm finally admitting that even though I don't like labels, I'm a flat earther.
Got me, partner.
Based on my research for the past 10 months, our world is very different from the model that we are being taught by the authority on the matter. It took me a while to come to terms with this, and it took even longer to gain the courage to talk about it. It can be pretty embarrassing to go against popular opinion, but this is real. It's not a psyop, it's not a distraction, and it's not a bandwagon. It's a reasonable debate. It's thousands of people taking what we've been told and comparing it to what we see and experience, only to find out that they do not match up. Once you start digging into this, it becomes clear that there is no evidence for the speculated spinning ball that we supposedly live on, and everything points to a flat Earth.
Now, before you call me nuts or absurd or off of my rocker, just know that I believed in the globe ball earth model for 29 years of my life. Basically my entire life, up until 6 months ago. When I first heard the term flat earth, I laughed and mocked and called anyone who believed that the earth was flat was crazy as hell. What I found, however, is that the more I looked and listened to them, and the more that I considered that the earth could be flat, it all started to add up and the proof kept on stacking up. I love space, the concept and the idea of the heliocentric model, but there are so many flaws in it that I can no longer believe something that has no proof, as the ball earth model has none. Make no mistake, You must research something is flat Earth on your own, and I'd love for you to learn the top 5 reasons why I became a biblical flat earther in 2016. Please keep an open mind, and thanks for watching my video. Here's the top 5 reasons that I no longer believe in the globe ball Earth in 2016. Number 1. Space is fake. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Did you know that there is no real true photo of the Earth from space? We're taught that these images are, but even NASA themselves openly admit that all these images are done in Photoshop. They are composite computer-generated images. And if you look close, you can see all the discrepancies in each of them, how some of the continents do not match up in size, and how the clone tool was used to create the clouds. NASA even took the liberty to Photoshop the word sex into one such cloud formation. This can be noticed when flipping their composite upside down and zooming in. Were they bored? Or is this the calling card of Disney, as we've seen them do such similar subliminal messaging in such children movies as The Lion King and Tangled? I'm coming to find that NASA and Disney have a lot in common. Every aspect of space footage is fake. We've seen water bubbles in footage and other discrepancies such as flimsy hatch lids, which clearly show this is not real whatsoever. Footage from the ISS is easily faked using a green screen and what is known as a zero-G plane, as I'm sure of other methods as well. The plane flies high up in the air and then does a basic nosedive, producing an environment where everything is just in free fall. We can see here that this woman seems a little bit on edge and is clearly feeling unsafe, as I imagine most would in a plane that's in a free fall. Nations all over the world fake space, and it's just a money-making scheme. NASA alone pulled in a whopping $18.5 billion in 2016. Reason to lie? Yeah, very much. Number 2, there is no curve. Last time I checked, a ball shape has to have a curve somewhere. But in fact, once you truly look, you will find none. Anywhere. There's none. The proof of this is in objects that can be seen from certain distances over water. There are so many examples of this now, and certainly the lighthouse is one very great example. In his book, Proofs That the Earth is Not a Globe, Howard Hendry exposes this truth and gives us many good examples of so many lighthouses that should not be observable at certain distances and hidden behind an exact amount of curvature. The curve formula for the Earth is 8 inches per mile squared, and is nowhere to be found anywhere at all. I found a very detailed video called Flat Earth, A Mountain of Evidence, that gives one such example of lack of curvature where there should be some. This is a great video to watch, and I highly recommend that you do. Many people who are now waking up are out there trying to find the curve or prove the lack thereof. We've been consistent in finding that there is none, using simple tests over bodies of water where there should be an exact amount of curvature due to gravity's supposed force on the water, producing a curve. But we have found that there really is none at all. The only reason to doubt this fact is from false curvature that you've been shown in many aspects, and we must not forget the mass deception shown to us from evil corporations such as NASA and even our own public schooling systems, or as I like to call them, the indoctrination centers. The textbooks in our schools are written in favor of the elite. Before he left us, Michael Jackson tried to warn us all and tell us of this deception. Personally, the school system failed me miserably and did nothing to prepare me for the real world. Many people I know agree with this as well. I believe we are simply trained to become mindless worker bees for the favor of those in power and not to think on our own. They do not like that. Another place we see false curvature can be found from what's called a fisheye lens. As a photographer, I know personally how these lenses work, and they simply distort a straight line, such as the horizon. It's easy to tell the true nature of a straight line, say the horizon, when it is in the direct center of the frame. Number 3, no movement. Movement of the Earth, whether it is the 1,000-mile-per-hour spin, wobble on its axis, or the blindingly fast speeds it's going around the sun or moving through the Milky Way, they are never observed, felt, or even recorded ever in history. It's never been measured or have been found to move, and just speculated in theories. It's perfectly still, and we can prove this using science and repeatable experiments. The gyroscope is an instrument that will retain its rigidity in space and should appear to turn if the surface it is on is rotating, such as the Earth should. So in fact, if the Earth were spinning at all, we would notice this movement in the gyroscope. However, we can see that we observe no motion. We are perfectly still and going nowhere. The Michelson-Morley experiment also found this as well. When the experiment found out that the Earth was not spinning, along comes Einstein to the rescue to make up his theory of relativity, which is just a theory and has never been fully proven. Airy's failure was an experiment that proved that the heavenly bodies are in motion, while we are not, using telescopes with water. Telescopes have to be very slightly tilted to get the starlight going down the axis of the tube because the Earth's speed around the sun. Airy filled the telescope with water that greatly slowed down the speed of the light inside the telescope and found that he did not have to change the angle of the telescope. This showed that the starlight was already coming in at the correct angle, so that no change was needed. This demonstrated that it was the stars moving relative to a stationary Earth, and not the fast orbiting Earth moving relative to the comparatively stationary stars. If it was the telescope moving, he would have had to change the angle. Another strange fact I'd never considered is the fact that airplanes would have to do all sorts of maneuvers just to land on a surface that's spinning at 1,000 miles per hour in one direction. It would simply be impossible for them to land, and wouldn't they fly faster to their location if flying against the spin of the ball? This crazy mess does not work, and it's far from what is real and what we see and observe. In fact, flight simulations always use a flat, non-rotating Earth to train pilots, and the training of these pilots is extremely important for the safety of you, myself, and many, many more. The flight simulation is further explained in detail in Edward Hendry's book, The Greatest Lie on Earth, proof that our world is not a moving globe. Number 4, water. The nature of water is always flat when left unmanipulated. It always finds its level. It never curves or bends. The only time it does so is with what's called surface tension, and surely surface tension doesn't have waves like our oceans do. It's called water level for a reason, and not water curval. No matter what container it is in, water will always remain flat. Number 5, horizon always rises to eye level. No matter what height an observer on the Earth will rise to, the horizon will keep on rising to eye level, which is impossible on any size ball whatsoever. Any height you rise on a ball, the horizon would stay fixed in place, but this is not what we observe. The horizon keeps on rising at any height, clearly indicating a flat plane we are on instead of a ball. With the enormous amount of others coming awake to the globe deception, they are launching many more high-altitude balloons to see what we can find out on our own. We are finding that the sun is much closer, indicated with a hot spot underneath where it is, which is a clear indicator that is not 93 million miles away, as we're told. In fact, the number 93 really has a lot of Masonic ties and is simply a number found in Jewish gematria, which they love to use when fooling the masses. no proof of the ball. Now, I know it sounds absurd, but when you have been searching for the answer to the flat earth versus globe debate for a while, you will see a lack of true evidence for the ball and that the earth is truly flat. Each ancient civilization knew the nature of the earth and how it is. The greed and evil nature of man came along and tried to turn the true nature of earth into something it isn't, to fool the masses and to lead them away from our God. It's this simple. When you trace back the origin of the globe, there was truly no proof or evidence, just mathematics that could work out in favor of the model with the earth orbiting the sun. The globe was pieced together over a course of many years, and many people had to work on it to get it to work correctly. And of course, it only worked with the theories fed to us by Newton and Einstein. Remember that they are just theories as well, and they've never been proven in any situation. Gravity doesn't actually make sense when you think about it, and a good example that it doesn't is in the following passage from Henry's book. Newton's theory of gravity is founded upon the premise that all objects are attracted to all other objects based upon their mass. Eric Dubé explains that this law of science has never been proven and cannot be observed. This magnetic-like attraction of massive objects, gravity is purported to have, can be found nowhere in the natural world. There is no example in nature of a massive sphere or any other shaped object by which its virtue of its mass alone causes smaller things to stick to it or orbit around it. There is nothing on Earth massive enough that it can be shown to cause even a dust bunny to stick to or orbit around it. Try spinning a wet tennis ball or any other spherical object with smaller things placed on its surface, and you will find that everything falls or flies off and nothing sticks to or orbits it. To claim the existence of a physical law without a single practical evidential example is hearsay and not science. Just remember that many of us are just now waking up and are asking questions ourselves. It's not what we've been taught, but what we can prove ourselves. Here's to the Great Awakening. God bless you all.
There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over at the other and goes, "What the hell is water?"
When I started looking closer with an open mind, I couldn't debunk flat Earth. I became a flat earther. When I started decoding movies, I saw connections where I never thought I would see connections. And now I want to talk about something positive. Despite all of these disinfo shills, there has been a great gift given to you once you see the flat Earth and the dome and the firmament for what it is. An engineered home. And if this home for us was engineered, then someone engineered it. And if someone engineered it and put it here, and possibly put you here, they could possibly take you out of here too. It's ultimately humbling and puts things in perspective.
In the day-to-day trenches of adult life, there is actually no such thing as atheism. There is no such thing as not worshiping. Everybody worships. The only choice we get is what to worship. If you worship money and things, if they are where you tap real meaning in life, then you will never have enough. Never feel you have enough. It's the truth. Worship your own body and beauty and sexual allure, and you will always feel ugly. And when time and age start showing, you will die a million deaths before they finally plant you. Worship power, you will end up feeling weak and afraid, and you will need ever more power over others to numb you to your own fear. Worship your intellect, being seen as smart, you will end up feeling stupid, a fraud, always on the verge of being found out. Look, the insidious thing about these forms of worship is not that they're evil or sinful, it is that they are unconscious. They are default settings. They're the kind of worship you just gradually slip into, day after day, getting more and more selective about what you see and how you measure value without ever being fully aware that that's what you're doing. And the so-called real world will not discourage you from operating on your default settings. because the so-called real world of men and money and power hums merrily along on the fuel of fear and anger and frustration and craving and the worship of self. Our own present culture has harnessed these forces in ways that have yielded extraordinary wealth and comfort and personal freedom. The freedom all to be lords of our own tiny skull-sized kingdoms, alone at the center of all creation. The really important kind of freedom involves attention and awareness and discipline and being able truly to care about other people and to sacrifice for them over and over in myriad petty little unsexy ways every day. That is real freedom.